Films had their kind of world premiere, so to speak. So first one we'll cover is Maestro. Now I was just getting the funny story. I was getting the Rotten Tomatoes score and the reviews things for Maestro. Saw it was at 95, and then I went back to the page and it was 93 with seven more reviews. So we got a lot more context for this now. One now. But anyway, Maestro, it's a movie directed by Bradley Cooper, stars Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan, and it's about the towering and fearless love story that chronicles the lifelong relationship between Leonard Bernstein and Felicia Montaliga Cone Burstein. I'm not great with that pronunciation, sorry, but yeah, it's a basically the film is a love letter to life and art. And the film is going to, at its core, it's going to be an emotionally epic portrayal of family and love. Now, the Rotten Tomato score is 93% with 27 reviews, and the average rating is 7.8 out of 10. This movie looks to be a big player at the Oscars. Nayan, just from these reviews and what the film really is, where are you at with this movie?
Pretty much where I was at before this, where we all know it's going to be a big Oscar film.
Mm,
Um, and just looking at this, it looks like as if we're going to be right. It's going to make a big play. In terms of the picture, might sneak into picture.
yep.
Bradley Cooper will definitely get a nom. Maybe Carey Mulligan, depending on her performance. When
Mm,
more reviews start to come out, but it just goes to show that Bradley Cooper is a capable actor and director. I mean, this is the second directed
mm-hmm.
film, and
Yep.
it's in the high 90s. And getting Oscar buzz, his first one, A Star Is Born, is quite high on Rotten Tomatoes and got a lot of Oscar nominations and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So he could be a very capable director, and I'll be excited to see what he makes next, as long as he keeps sticking to his strengths.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's funny because when A Star Is Born was coming out, I was doing my most anticipated list for the year that it was coming out, and I saw Bradley Cooper directing. Skip this. I'm not interested. Then it came out, and I think it was I think it was at least top five favorite films of the year for that year. A Star Is Born was just amazing, and then with Maestro, I think the first reaction that I saw out of its debut, it was a negative reaction. And I was like, right, okay, Bradley Cooper's a one hit wonder. And then I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score, and I was like, damn it, like I was fooled again. So I gotta stop
Doubting.
underestimating. Yeah, I can't doubt him anymore. I have to have trust in Bradley Cooper as a director. He seems to be or have a very good understanding and grasp on the craft of directing. So yeah, I really got to hand it to him to be able to hit twice in a row with this. It just seems like it's a very hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to make a good movie. It's harder to make two movies that generate Oscar buzz and get nominations. So for him to do it, twice straight away is he can be a very exciting director moving forward, and especially when he puts himself as the lead actor.
Yeah, I was
Um,
about to say, like, both his movies feature him heavily in it as well. So could you
yeah,
imagine like how good he could make a film if took that acting pressure away from him and just purely focused on the directing part?
yeah,
Um, God, who knows how good that could be.
I know exactly. I've heard stuff like Carey Mulligan in the movie. She is the best part about it. Her performance is amazing. So that one gets me really excited. I love Carey Mulligan as an actress. But yeah, no, I'm excited for this one. I believe that you had it in your top 10, or at least your honorable mentions for most anticipated.
Probably,
Uh,
I can't remember. It
yeah,
was somewhere.
we'll have to go back, but
Yeah.
that might pay off in the long run. Um, this movie
Finally,
is
are right.
the Nay curse is broken. But yeah, I think this movie debuts on Netflix as well. And hopefully it doesn't release in New Zealand next year in July or something stupid like that. We need to get it the same time as everybody else, please.
We'll get it if it releases on Netflix in November. We'll get it at the same time, right?
Yeah, no, we get it. I'm just making a joke because any Oscar movie,
Uh,
it seems to come out in March the next year for New Zealand.
or
It's really annoying.
or after the Oscars.
Yeah.
Some films have come out after the Oscars.
Don't get me started. I don't want to get angry on the potty. Not now. Not now. Um, we haven't talked about MCU yet or DCU, so I don't want to get angry talking about good movies. But anyway, we're gonna move on to Saltburn, we just talked about the trailer. We liked it. Now, so the reviews coming out of this one, as Nan said before, when we first saw the reviews for this, it was in the rotten range, but it's at 12 reviews right now. It's sitting at 75%, so it's going up as more reviews come in. The average rating's at 7.8, so it matches Maestro in average rating. That's the interesting part that no one really talks about with Rotten Tomatoes, is that the average rating can be the same, but the actual percentage can be different. What one's more valid? That, I guess, it's up to you to decide, but I thought that was an interesting part of it. But yeah, Saltburn. But this movie is about Oliver Quick, and he finds himself drawn into the world of the charming and aristocratic Felix Catton, which is Jacob Elordi. And he invites him to Saltburn, which is an eccentric family's sprawling estate, and they'll be experiencing a summer never to be forgotten. So, Nan, hearing all this stuff about Saltburn, you excited for it now? I know we just talked about it, but go back to the average rating, same as Maestro, different percentage scores. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts is that Maestro has at least like another 15, 16, 17 more reviews. I can't do maths real fast, but there or thereabouts, more reviews in that. So maybe when Saltburn gets that, the average rating could come down or it could go up. We don't know. And same could be said for Maestro. So my thoughts are still exactly the same as what I discussed in the trailer. Still excited for it. Emerald Fennell, her first film I saw was Promising Young Woman, and I love that. So I hope this is just as good. But I was a bit worried when I first saw that Rotten Tomatoes score was at 55, because it's like, damn it. Like, I wanted to see like consistency in these like little known directors that I've like only seen a few films for. But it seems like as if this is going to crawl its way into a decent film, for me at least.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. But the 7.8 average rating, it is very interesting to me. It kind of shows that, with these kind of things, especially something like Saltburn, it either seems that you're really going to love it or you're not going to like it. That I think that's how the average rating would work, since the percentage is down, but the average rating is the same as Maestro. But I think we're looking at something where I think once you get kind of the other critics involved, I think the percentage is going to go up, but the average rating will go a little bit down. That's my prediction. As for the movie, yeah, I was worried when I first saw that. I was like, oh, that's annoying. I really wanted that one to be good. I was really, banking on that. I really love Promising Young Woman. So yeah, it was a bit surprising, but just to, look at the overall picture and just see that it is kind of nearly on the same par as something like Maestro, it does add a little bit of reassurance that, you could really love this movie. So I hope that that's what we get it with this. And yeah, if it's anything like Promising Young Woman, it's going to be great. But it adds some assurity to us and being excited. All right, we're going to move on to a couple of big boys now. So the first one is The Zone of Interest. Now, this movie didn't debut at any of these festivals. It would only had limited reviews because it debuted at Cannes, but the reviews have it's gone up a lot higher since debuting at Telluride, and I think Venice as well. I'm not too sure on that one, but at least it was at Telluride. This movie is about the commander of the biggest concentration camp in World War II, Rudolf Hoss, and his wife Hedwig, and they're striving to build their dream life for their family in a house and garden next to the camp. So, yeah. The Rotten Tomatoes score is 96%, and it has 55 reviews, and the average rating is a 9.1 out of 10. So that's very high. The things that I've seen from this movie in terms of its reception is just it's a very big calling. But Nan, what are you thinking looking at this kind of movie and just hearing about the plot and these kind of reviews?
Yeah, I really like the synopsis here. It's quite intriguing, and it's set in that World War II era, but it's not quite focused on the war aspect that we see nowadays. It's on a different aspect of war, which I think doesn't get covered enough. So I think this has a really good, interesting concept. and it's obviously a critical hit. 9.1 average rating is insane. It's very rare that we see anything like 8 and above in terms of average rating, let alone 9.
Yeah.
So this goes to show that it could be a big Oscar or a sleeper hit at the Oscars, you know. So yeah, hopefully it keeps up that when more reviews come out, and when we eventually go see it, hopefully it does live up to the hype.
Yeah, yeah. In terms of the Oscar potential for this movie, the stuff that I have seen, I've heard some really big yeah, just very big praises for this film, but they have said that it may be too brutal for the Academy to consider. So I think that might be the thing holding him back, because you're looking at the commander of a concentration camp and them trying to build a dream life. And apparently it's quite brutal in the kind of ideas that it tackles. But it does it in a way that doesn't, glorify these kind of people. So I think that might be the challenging aspect of this, but you're right, it could be a sleeper hit. If the Academy, if they bite at something like this, I think they're going to bite pretty hard, and it's going to go.
100%.
It really could go all the way. Something like this, especially covering like that and taking us inside of the mind and household of the evilness and the cruelty of World War II. I think that's more interesting than seeing some soldiers run across the battlefield. Sometimes I'm excited for the different take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Move on now to one that I saw coming out of nowhere. Now, Poor Things, we've spoken about both trailers, I think, as they've come out. Yeah, and Yorgos Lanthimos, I said that I think he was a little bit lucky with The Favorite in terms of its Oscar coverage, and I don't know if he can hit Oscar gold twice. Wow. Poor Things debuted to 100% on the Rotten Tomatoes website. 26 reviews and a 9.3 out of 10 average rating. Apparently, it's his best movie. The movie is about a young woman that's brought back to life by an unorthodox scientist, and she runs off with a lawyer on an adventure across the continents. Free from the prejudice of her time, she grows steadfast in her purpose to stand for equality and liberation. So yeah, name we've seen the trailers. It looks interesting and eccentric in a really wacky kind of way, but a 9.3 average rating, 100%. Well, what are your thoughts on this? Are you like hyped for this one now?
I better not get this fucking film after the Oscars, and I better not get it next year. It needs to come out in New Zealand when it's supposed to come out, so I can watch it, because this is just awesome. And we've discussed the two trailers. We like the visual style to the film, and we both said that it had an interesting plot as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that these reactions have come out after this festival just goes to show that this is going to be an awesome movie.
Yeah.
I've heard things where Mark Ruffalo is fantastic in this film. He's like comedic, but also heartfelt as well. And I've heard Emma Stone is definitely a contender for Best Actress at the Oscars as well. So all those things, and then plus this, and a very capable director. I haven't seen any of his work, but you have. Yeah, fuck, I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I would definitely recommend to go check out his other stuff. He's a very interesting director. It's not your standard kind of slapstick Oscar baity kind of stuff. It's very interesting, and I think you'll know what I mean when I say I never knew if the Academy would buy into this movie as much as something like The Favorite, because The Favorite seemed more straightforward than what this did. But I think with the reception it's getting, you can't deny that it's going to have quite a strong presence in the Oscars. I think Emma Stone's going to be, deep in the mix of Best Actress alongside Carey Mulligan. It's going to be, it's just going to be so good. It's just adding a movie that I didn't think would be as good as it's being received, and you're adding that into an already stacked Oscar slate. I think that should get anyone who loves movies really, really excited. This movie has the potential to be a really, really big player as we move forward. But I'm so glad to see a director like Yorgos Lanthimos to really keep improving as a director and keep bringing kind of interesting stuff. I'm really excited to see where he goes, and I'm really excited for this movie. Sad to say though to you, Nan. This feels like a movie that would come in like February or March for New Zealand. As sad as it is, I think it's Fox Searchlight, and they usually do it late here. It's very, very frustrating. Hopefully the studios on our end can do a nice little quick one. Or digital release. Hopefully, we'll see. But yeah, I'm super excited for this one. Now you just can't ignore a film when it has reviews like this. Yeah, you can't ignore something that's a 9.3 out of 10 average rating. Just
Definitely not.
insane. Yeah. All right. So moving on. So it's the Holdovers. Now, the Holdovers follows an instructor at a New England prep school who is forced to remain on campus during Christmas break to babysit the handful of students with nowhere to go. He eventually forms an unlikely bond with one of them, a damaged, brainy troublemaker, and with the school's head cook, who has just lost a son in Vietnam. Now, apparently, the instructor at the school is a very lonely man who no one seems to love or appreciate. So something that swings really into kind of the Oscar Beatty kind of stuff, but it did debut with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, only 7 reviews, but an average rating of 8.2 out of 10. Now, and I don't know how much you've heard about the Holdovers movie, but it stars Paul Giamatti, who's generating buzz in the Best Actor category, directed by Alexander Payne. Yeah, so I don't know if you know about this movie, but upon hearing the stuff that I've just said, are you excited for this movie? What do you think?
Uh, I have heard about Paul Giamatti. I've heard
Mhm.
that he's also like the front runner to win Best Actor as well.
He's up
Um,
there for sure. Yeah.
from this film. It's quite hard to get excited about a 100% film with only 7 reviews because the pool is just so small.
Yeah.
But the average rating there is 8.2, and that's very good. Um,
Hmm.
for Rotten Tomatoes, if the average rating is 8 or above, it's a good film. If it's 9 or higher, then
Really good. Yeah.
yeah. So I think
Hmm.
that does have me a bit excited for, but yeah, but based on 7 reviews, it's so hard to make a judgment really, because if you think
Yeah.
about it, only 7 people saw the film. Question
Mm.
mark.
Yeah.
But no, I'm looking forward to it. I like the synopsis of it, and I'm excited to see Paul Giamatti's performance in this because I've heard quite a lot about it. So I hope it does live up to that hype and yeah, give it a
Yeah.
hoon.
Yeah. No, for sure. I've also heard a lot about Davine Joy Randolph, who plays the head cook who just lost her son. Apparently, she's the emotional core of the movie, and she's generating a lot of traction in the best supporting actress category. But for this movie, I'm looking forward to it. I don't really know what to expect. I imagine that it plays similar to Manchester by the Sea. Have you seen Manchester by the Sea?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, yeah. It feels very similar to that, and it feels very similar to that. Kind of. It will get the best picture nom. It will get best director, screenplay, and some of the acting noms in there. And it won't. That's all it will really do. It might pick up one or two in there. But yeah, I've heard good stuff about Paul Giamatti and Davine Joy Randolph. So I'm excited for this. I don't. It's not really a movie where I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so excited for it. Based on the reception, and you are right, it's a very small pool of only 7 reviews. I'm excited for it, and I'll see where it is. The reason why I give a little bit more, I guess, I guess, I don't know the word right now, but I trust these reviews a little bit more than your standard reviews because they're coming from critics that are attending these festivals rather than kind of online website critics that
Oh yeah.
go see movies on opening weekend kind of thing. Um, People know what I mean. You kind of get the best critics that are around going to these things and seeing everything. But yeah, we'll see how things turn out. I am looking forward to it. All right, one that we've already talked about. The last two that we will talk about today because we are on running on a certain amount of time here. So The Killer, directed by David Fincher. We just talked about the trailer, but the film follows a ruthless assassin who has a very bad miss on one of his jobs, and he has to battle his employers and himself on a global manhunt he insists is anything but personal. Very brief synopsis there. So for the Rotten Tomatoes score, it's 90%, only 21 reviews, but the average rating sitting at 7.7. So you look at this average rating, and it's the lowest one so far that we've talked about, lower than Saltburn at 75%, lower than Maestro as well. So something to think about there. But what are your thoughts on this, Nan? As we are both really excited for it based on that really cool trailer.
Yeah, that average rating is definitely one to think about. I mean, yeah, it's only point 0.1 under the other two, but the fact that it's like 7.7 but 90% on Rotten Tomatoes just goes to show how,
Mm,
fluctuating up and down
I
Rotten
know what you
Tomatoes.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah. How up and down Rotten Tomatoes do their scores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't touch upon any more than what I already said in the trailer. I'm excited for it still, and I think it's going to be one of David Fincher's best films in recent memory.
Yeah. Oh, completely agreed. This is not one where I get kind of worried about it. I feel like I'm gonna love this movie regardless. That trailer alone, if it sets the tone of the film, I'm fully on board, and I think I'll love it. As much as I love the trailer. There's always like Rotten Tomatoes kind of. It's always hard to base like or compare your opinion to Rotten Tomatoes. Like we're just talking about now, the Rotten Tomatoes score may be a 93%, but the average rating is like 6.2. So you can't really get a very accurate depiction on how the film's quality until you see it um for yourself. But yeah, I think it's still going to be very good. It's just going to be one of those movies that have a really or have a lower average rating than some of the others, but the Rotten Tomato score I think is going to sit above the 85% mark quite easily. And David Fincher, he doesn't miss very often. I'll just say that much.
Definitely not.
No. So the last one we're going to cover is Ferrari. So yeah, it's about the biopic of Enzo Ferrari, the family that redefined the idea of the high-powered Italian sports car and practically spawned the concept of Formula One racing. So he's the GOAT. But the Rotten Tomatoes score for this one, and the trailer looks great. I think we can all say that here. The trailer looks great, but the Rotten Tomatoes score is 76%, 33 reviews. The average rating for this though, 6.3 out of 10, significantly lower than everything we're seeing. Now, what's your takeaway from this one?
Either critics don't get what the film's trying to say, or the film's just not as good as the trailer. Um,
Mm.
it could go either way. I'm hoping it's the latter. So I had to think about what I was trying to get to
The
at
the
that
latter
point.
is the film's not as good as the trailer.
The former, the
The former,
first thing I
yeah,
said.
yeah.
I hope it's the critics not understanding what this film is or trying to do, because that trailer,
Mm,
as discussed, looks fantastic, and
yeah.
Adam Driver looks fantastic in it. I actually haven't seen many reactions towards his acting
Mhm.
in this film. You might have, so you might be able to comment on that. But just watching that trailer, I think it's awesome. But yeah, with all these big Oscar films, there's always that one little outlier, and just so happens to be Ferrari. So it doesn't really do its chances that well in terms of Oscar race. It sort of,
Mm.
based on this, it sort of hurt itself a little. But hopefully when more reviews come out, it can just get bumped up a little bit more and actually show that it is a better than what the initial reactions are.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely correct with the Oscars component of it all. With the Oscars, you always have your bona fide front runners. Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer. They're going to be big players. Like we knew that before Oppenheimer came out. We knew it before the Cannes Film Festival debut for Killers of the Flower Moon. You just know you're going to get Oscar gold there. But with the Oscars, there's always that one that surprises and is always like a big player, and no one ever saw it coming. You can look at everything everywhere all at once, or you can look at Past Lives, which would do that this year. No one really knew or saw that movie was coming, but it's coming pretty heavy. And there's always that movie that you look at the start of the year and be like, damn, that's going to be a big Oscar player. We saw that with Ferrari. Based on these reviews, it doesn't look like it might be a big player. Now, you're right. I haven't seen any reactions to Adam Driver, or even much comments on his performance here. So either it's not good, or it's not good enough to get the praise, or I just haven't been around enough to really see it. But what I have heard is Penelope Cruz. I've heard a lot about that. Adam Driver looks great. And I know his capability as an actor, but yeah, Penelope Cruz seems to be generating quite a bit of buzz. I do think this will be in the Oscar conversation still. I don't know if the nomination for Best Picture is there, but I think it'll pop up in other category: cinematography, production design,
Yeah.
even makeup and hairstyling. Adam Driver looks quite, different. He's got a very I could detect that guy under any kind of prosthetic, I feel, but he still looks much different than the usual Adam Driver that we get. So I think it'll be a strong play in other categories. Might not be the movie that we are envisioning based on that awesome trailer. All right.